Hello everyone, my name is Eric DeBoard and I'm an Azure TSP at Microsoft focused in education. Today I want to introduce you to a video series that goes through the entire process of deploying an ADFS infrastructure in Azure from start to finish. There are a number of ways to accomplish this. However, our solution that we're going to deploy is an all-in Azure solution, which can provide high availability for your sign-on solution in the event that you lose connectivity to your data center or you have some sort of data center outage. We're going to deploy this as a fully high available solution with duplicate infrastructure across the board with load balancers. And so it will be a solution that you can rely on to provide single sign-on for your applications. And that would include Office 365 or other applications that you use Azure Active Directory identities for. Now, keep in mind that as we go through this set of videos, there are several ways that you could deploy your infrastructure. You could deploy standard storage, you can deploy premium storage, you can deploy multiple networks instead of breaking a single network into subnets. You could also deploy smaller or larger virtual machines. The good news is the basics are here. You can understand how to go through these deployments using PowerShell, using JSON templates, and using even the portal as we go through all sorts of examples to make sure you can understand all those different opportunities to deploy your infrastructure. The other thing I want to mention is our security that we have deployed in this environment is a security that only allows access from the outside to our DMZ. However, as you deploy this infrastructure, you may want to take a look at how to satisfy your own organization's security needs with either network security groups, breaking up your subnets, or even using third-party appliances, using Bring Your Own License in Azure. So with that, let's just take a look at what we've got here on the diagram. This depicts the entire solution. On the left here, we have just a depiction of an on-premise site. And that on-premise site is basically going to have your users, your infrastructure, and most importantly, your AD infrastructure. We also depict here a site-to-site VPN and an express route connection. Now, you would use one of these, not both necessarily. And we do not deploy those in this video series. That is a solution that we could cover separately. But everything else you see here on the right is covered in this series. The first video we talk about storage, and we deploy 2 storage accounts, giving us some redundancy from a storage perspective. We then move on to deploying networks. And our network configuration is going to be a single VNet in Azure. It's going to be named EDU Nets, and it's going to have a subnet range of 172.16.0.0/16. We're then going to deploy a production subnet and a DMZ subnet. These are going to have the respective address spaces you can see here on the screen, and they're going to provide a separation between what we want to expose to the internet versus what we want to have in our production environment that is not exposed to the internet. As we deploy these subnets, we also deploy network security groups. We've got a network security group for our DMZ and one for our production environment. These are basically rules that will surround our different subnets and only allow certain sorts of traffic in and out through particular ports. In this case, we're going to use the DMZ NSG and the production NSG to ensure only HTTPS traffic can pass between these subnets, and to ensure only internet connectivity can come into this DMZ subnet. There will be no exposure to the internet from our production subnet. In addition, we deploy a couple of load balancers in our networking video, an internal load balancer and an external load balancer. These will handle the incoming traffic from the internet over here to our web application proxy servers and from our DMZ to our ADFS servers in our production subnet. With that, we move on to deploying virtual machines. And the first set of virtual machines we deploy are our domain controllers, which I'm depicting here. We do deploy DS2 V2 virtual machines. However, in your environment, you may choose to deploy larger VMs or smaller. It's all going to depend on, the load that you have in Azure and for your single sign-on environment. We will deploy our DCs into a DC availability set. And this is basically going to ensure that our DCs are always separated on infrastructure such that they're never down at the same time. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the videos. The next set of VMs we deploy are our ADFS servers. We deploy these with the management portal, going click by click through the web-based portal. We deploy an ADFS availability set as well, so those will be highly available and on separate infrastructure. Now, I didn't mention, but we do deploy our DCs with PowerShell, so you get to see how we deploy with PowerShell in that case. Finally, we deploy our web application proxy servers, first starting with an availability set for those as well, and then deploying the 2 servers using a JSON template. And so deploying JSON templates is a very easy way to create templates for Azure deployments and quickly make simple changes and deploy those. And we'll show how we're going to do that by changing our storage account. So that depicts our entire environment. One of the things that I want to make clear is that you do get to design this in your own way, but use this as a good, sort of a template to understand the components required and adjust as necessary for your environment. So with that, let's get on to the video series.